Guys, it's Reese from the Reese Corner channel. Welcome back to another episode of my Bendy review series. This episode is actually going to be very special today, guys, because as you can see right here, we have our first episode looking at any Ink Demon merchandise. So that's actually really cool, and there's actually quite a bit to talk about with this figure. So I just want to get straight into it. So first of all, I want to get into the design of this figure, because if you look at it right here, you can see it's not the same design as the Ink Demon would have at the end of Bendy Ink Machine's development. For reference, this is what the Ink Demon would look like at the end of Bendy Ink Machine's development. As you can see, this is clearly not the same design. It's a little similar, but you can clearly see the difference between this one and this one right here. There's a pretty big difference, and that's because this is the final design of the Ink Demon in Bendy the Ink Machine, and its action figure is actually based on this design right here. This is Beta Bendy, as he's officially referred to as. And if for those who don't know, basically throughout the development of Bendy and the Ink Machine, as the game kept going and more chapters were being made, the team over at the Meatly and Jojo Studios would actually go back and update each chapter with a new update. This could be things such as adding new rooms, new textures, new lighting, sometimes like new cutscenes and dialogue, and overall it was to make the game just even more better than it already was, or just to go back and just to kind of improve and show how good they were getting with game development with each new chapter. And something they did was actually change the designs of the certain characters. I think actually every character, besides a few, actually got a visual overhaul throughout the game's development. And the Ink Demon went through the most designs. And it makes sense. The Ink Demon was the main villain and antagonist of Bendy the Ink Machine. So it makes sense he would go through the most changes. So this action figure right here is actually based on, well, this beta design. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And this design is actually probably one of the most well-known for the Ink Demon. It was actually used in the it wasn't used in the first initial release of Bendy the Ink Machine, but it was used in chapter 2 and lasted all the way up to chapter 4, when it was changed again to the design we have today for Bendy the Ink Machine, which was this one. So yeah, with chapter 4, this design came in and became the standard look for the Ink Demon in all previous chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 5. This beta design was discarded, and yeah, it's very iconic. It's very memorable. A lot of fans of the franchise really love this design. I definitely have a soft spot for this design because it was the one that was used when I was getting into the franchise around the release of chapter 2 of Ink Machine. So I got very used to this design. So yeah, and as a direction of that beta look, it's actually a really good figure. The only thing I could see is that the beta design had ink on his hand. He had like ink all over his hand. But with this figure right here, he actually doesn't. And also something kind of interesting, the Ink Demon didn't have but 2 gloved hands. He had one that was a gloved hand that was covered in ink, another that just looked like and the other one which looked more like a mangled up human hand. And this is actually a design trait that would actually carry on into the final design, where you can see one hand of the Ink Demon was made to look like a cartoon glove, and the other was made to look like a human hand. So it's kind of weird they actually didn't keep that on for the action figure. Like, they didn't just make this a human hand and this a cartoon one. Maybe they wanted to, I don't know why they didn't do that. I don't know, it's just kind of strange. Because it's like one of the most core. I mean, it's basically been used in every design of the Ink Demon, besides the initial one from the alpha of chapter 1. This like design detail has always been persistent. It was throughout all the other designs in Ink Machine and carried on into Dark Revival. So kind of strange, but other than that, it's still a really good figure of Beta Bendy again. And yeah, the only other thing I could talk about is his 2 little accessories. You can see they're both items used for the ritual. You have the cog and the spanner. And something that I find kind of interesting is that I'm actually surprised they gave the spanner to the Ink Demon and not to Boris for one of his accessories with his action figure. And the reason why, and I have it right here, is this. This was a teaser image that was released for chapter 3. So leading up to the release of chapter 3, the team at the Meatly and Jojo Studios, actually I think it was like the Meatly, it was still called like the Meatly Games at this point. It wasn't called like Joju Studios. So yeah, they did this thing where leading up to the game's development, they released these teaser images, kind of similar to what Scott Cawthon did with FNAF. And one of them was this one. Came with a little message, the Ink Demon is out there, and had Boris holding the spanner right here, which is something he never did in Chapter 3. So it's kind of interesting that they gave the spanner accessory to the Ink Demon and not to Boris. So I think it would have made more sense. It would actually have worked as like a cool reference to this teaser, but I guess it's whatever. And besides, I guess the spanner works for it being for the Ink to be with the Ink Demon, because it is one of the items you need to begin the Ink Demon ritual in Chapter 3 and in Chapter 1, and awaken the Ink Demon. So yeah. Other than that, there's not much else to talk about. Cool history, cool model history, and like a cool reference that doesn't really work with the Ink Demon, but it's still cool to point out. So yeah, other than that, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out the playlist for more. And yeah, see ya.